Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students of viiic, Assalamu alaikum. I'm your teacher, Muhammad Ilyas, and this is our fifth introduction regarding biology for Cambridge. Dear students, our today's topic is cell structure and organization, and this is from your book Biology for Cambridge, chapter number 1. And the topic is 1 according to CI syllabus, and I have selected the points B to E for you. So our objectives for today's learning will be to understand the plant and animal cells with reference to the diagrams, and we will try to understand the structure and function of the cell membrane, nucleus and the cytoplasm in the animal cells. Thirdly, dear students, we will focus on these very important parts of the plant cells like the cellulose cell wall, cell membrane, sap vacuole, cytoplasm, nucleus and the chloroplast. And fourthly, we will try to understand the differences in the structure of the animal and the plant cells, which are very visible and which make them different from each other. So dear students, are you ready? So we are going to focus with the typical diagram of the animal cells. Before going to the illustration of the animal cell, dear students, I would love to say, what is cell? As you know, the cell is the basic unit of structure and the function in all the living creatures or organisms. All organisms are made up of either one cell, called the unicellular organisms, or of many cells, and they are called the multicellular organisms. Dear students, the cell is the smallest living unit, showing all characteristics of life and performing all the vital functions, means all the functions which a living thing required, all are done by a cell. As you can see from this structure, the major structures of the animal cells are cell membranes, cytoplasm and the nucleus. And beside this, there are so many organelles which are floating in the cytoplasm. So now we are going to focus on the microphotograph of animal cell. As you can see from this photograph, this is a microphotograph. What is microphotograph? Microphotograph is that photograph which is taken with the help of the microscope. This is the photograph taken through the microscope. You can see a very prominent nucleus in this photograph, a plasma membrane and the cytoplasm, in which many different types of organelles are floating. So this is the microphotograph of the animal cells. Dear students, now we are focusing on the very important structure of the animal cells, which is also present in the plant cells, that is cell membrane. Firstly, we are going to study the structure of the cell membrane, and then we will focus on the functions of the cell membrane. Dear student, the cell membrane, also called the plasma membrane, this is a thin, delicate layer made of layers of proteins and the fats. As you can see, that is a bilayer of the lipids, and the proteins molecules are embedded in this bilayer of lipid. There are other molecules are also present in this cell membrane. Now we are focusing on the functions of the cell membrane. First of all, the cell membrane provides a high surface area to the cell for the absorption of nutrients and the disposal of the wastes. Dear students, this is called the differentially permeable or partially permeable or selectively permeable membrane, because it controls the movements or the transport of the materials in and out of the cell. It allows certain small substances which are very essential for the plants to come in, like glucose, water and oxygen, and it prevents larger molecules like protein and starch from leaving the cell. So dear students, cell membrane is of great importance in animal cells as well as in the plant cells for controlling the transport of the materials within the cell and out of the cell. It also not allowing the the molecules which are harmful or toxic to the cell. Dear students, now we are going to focus on the cytoplasm. Cytoplasm is a site where so many chemical reactions are going on, and these chemical reactions are called the metabolic reactions. What is metabolic reaction? Those reactions in which the new molecules are formed and the older molecules are broken down. These are the sum of these reactions are called the metabolic reactions, and this is done by all the cells, and this is present in these are going on in the cytoplasm of the cell. So we can say the cytoplasm is the living material that make up most of the cells, and it has a textures like jelly. Cytoplasm contains many subcellular structures called organelles like ribosomes, mitochondria, and Golgi apparatus, and so on. So this is the brief discussion about the cytoplasm. Now we are going to focus on the very prominent and big structure in the cell, that is the nucleus. As I discussed earlier, the first is structure and then functions. Now we are going to study the structure of the nucleus. As I told you, it is the most prominent structure of the cell, and usually this is spherical in shape, found in the center of the animal cells. But in the plant cells it gets towards the one side because of the big vacuole. Dear students, nucleus is bonded by two membranes forming the nuclear envelope, as you can see in this diagram. And this envelope isolates the genetic material from the rest of the cell. Means genetic materials like chromosome, we also call it as a chromatin material. It is present within the nucleus. And nuclear pores are scattered over the surface of the envelope, and nucleoplasma is also present in this in the nucleus, which helps to float the chromosomes, and one more structure, the nucleolus. This is a spherical structure found in the nucleus, concerned with the construction or synthesis of the ribosomes. So this is the brief structural introduction about the nucleus. Now we are going to focus on the functions. The nucleus is involved in the cell division, and it controls all these cellular activities. It carries the instructions for the protein synthesis, and it is a house for the organism's genetic material like the chromosomes. It is the house means the chromosomes are only present in the nucleus. The nuclear pore act as channels permitting certain molecules to enter or leave the nucleus. So this is the brief introduction about the nucleus. Now we are focusing on the typical plant cell. This is the diagram which I have selected. Now you can see from this diagram, dear students, a very big, prominent vacuole is there, and the nucleus is on one side, not in the center. And the chloroplast is also present, which is of green color, and this is the organelle which make this plant cell, and this make the plant cell to produce its own food. And the last, I would love to discuss the cellulose cell wall. This is the characteristics of the plant cell, which is not present in the animal cells. Dear students, I have selected a microphotograph of the plant cell. You can see a prominent nucleus and a very big vacuole, chloroplast, and the cell wall. Cell wall is basically quite thicker than the membrane, so it can easily be observed under the light microscope. Now we are focusing on the very important structure of the plant cell. This is the cell wall. student, the cell wall is a non-living structure surrounding the living cell membrane of the plant cell. It is made of carbohydrates, a complex molecule called cellulose. Cellulose is a tough material that helps the plant cell maintain its shape. The plant cells have a fixed shape. They take in water, producing an internal pressure that pushes against the cell wall. The cell becomes inflated like a balloon blown up inside a box. The cell in this condition is called the turgid cell, and a state is called the turgor. When all the cells of the plants are turgid, they push against each other, helping to support the plant. So unlike the cell membrane, the plant cell wall is freely permeable to water and dissolved substances. It doesn't control the movement of substances in or out of the cell. It is much thicker than the cell membrane, as I told you earlier, so it is possible to see the cell wall through the microscope. So this is the brief discussion about the cell wall. Now we are going to move towards another important feature of the plant cell, and that is cell sap. A big vacuole is there in the plant cell when the plant cells become mature. Why there is a big cell vacuole? Because it has to store the water along with the different salts in the sugar, and this mixture, this solution of the water with the sugars and the dissolved minerals is called the cell sap, and this is present in the vacuole, so that is why this is called the sap vacuole. The sap vacuole acts as a store of these solutes. Animal cells have very small vacuoles, and they are not the only temporary structures which are found in the animal cells, but in the plant cells this is very prominent structure, and as I have discussed with you, it is acting as a reservoir for storing the water and the dissolved substances. So now we are focusing another important structure of the plant cells, that is chloroplast. I have selected two structures for you, diagrams for you regarding the chloroplast. Now you can see the chloroplast present in this plant cells, and it gives its green color because the chloroplast has this ability to reflect the green light back. So that's why the plants usually look like green. Now we are going to focus where mainly the chloroplasts are present. They are present in the leaves, and you can see the cross section of the leaf where the chloroplasts are present. These are green color pigments found in the plant cells. These green pigments are called chlorophyll, which are found within the organelle that is called chloroplast. So chloroplasts are almost as large as the nucleus, so are very visible through the light microscope, and their function is to absorb the sunlight during photosynthesis. You know the process of photosynthesis. This is the process by which the plants makes their own food. So we can say the chloroplast is of great importance for not only plants, for all other organism which depends on the plant for their food, because the chloroplast helps the plants to convert the light energy into the chemical energy. Now dear students, we are going to have a comparison between plant and animal cells. You can see from this diagram the both cells of plant and animal. The plant cells are usually larger and rectangular in shape, while the animal cells are usually smaller than the plant cells and round in shape, and sometimes they are irregular in shape. Plant cells have a cell wall, while the animal cells are lacking the cell wall. The nucleus lies on one side of the cell because of the big vacuole, as I discussed with you earlier, while the animal cells have the nucleus in the center. Mitochondria are present fewer in numbers in the plant cells, while the animal cells have great number of mitochondria. Plastids are present. Plastids means chloroplast, which we have discussed earlier. Chloroplast or plastids are present in the plant cells only. Animal cells don't have this because animal cells are not going to prepare their food. Beside this, a large vacuole is present in the plant cells, while the animal cells have very small molecules. There is a comparison and a contrast between the animal and the plant cells. The structures which are present in the plant cells, they are mentioned with the green color, and the structures which are present only in the animal cells, they are mentioned with the blue color, and red color is representing the structures which are present both in animal and the plant cells. Plant cells have cell wall, large vacuole, chloroplast. Animal cells don't have the cell wall, they have small vacuoles and they don't have any chloroplast. And the structures which are found both in animal and the plant cells, the mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, endoplasmic reticulum, both rough and smooth, nucleus, cytoplasm, and the ribosomes. These are the structures which are present both in animal and the plant cells. Dear students, now we are going to focus on your homework. This is the question 2 and 3 which I have selected for you from the page number 4 of your book and the chapter number 1. Please do write these answer of these questions on your notebook and then send to your respective groups. Thank you very much for being with me, and hopefully inshallah you have learned a lot from today's session. One more request to you, please stay at home, stay safe. Allah Hafiz.